And when you look at some of those aggressive sectors, and definitely check out Marquise's work in the Tackle Trading newsletter over the weekend to kind of get some detailed, analysis in from a sector perspective. But when you're looking at some of these sectors that have been theme-based sectors over the course of the rotation that we've seen post-election, you're seeing. Let's take a look at the industrial perspective right now. Now, industrials are really what's really the driving force behind industrials is that theme that is now starting to emerge, and the market finally caught up to this last week, and they caught up to what we've been talking about since the end, since in post-election analysis, is that infrastructure theme playing out. I know it's a crazy political environment right now, but I do foresee a better political environment in months coming in front of us than right now. And one of those topics that people can agree on from a political environment is the need for infrastructure spending. And if we're going to, and I do believe that you're going to see some of this, if we're going to put all these trillions of dollars out there in stimulus, we might as well do something good with it instead of just buying a new laptop, a new cell phone, putting it into Bitcoin, or doing something else that everybody's doing with their stimulus money. And so so I do see some political tailwinds start to pick up from an infrastructure. You saw it last week when Biden did announce that they're looking at a $3 trillion infrastructure plan. Remember, again, I know it's tough politically right now, but think about this just a year ago. Trump had a $2 trillion infrastructure plan just a year ago. And so I do think there is a thirst in America right now that is starting to build for infrastructure. Industrials here, you started to see the market wake up to that potential reality down the road last week with the industrials really trying to fight for support, driving into that resistance handle right there at $90. And when you're looking at this from a weekly perspective, look at this type of consolidation here, guys. This is that boring area of the market where people kind of get lulled to sleep to a certain extent. It's like, oh, let's just go look at that next high flying tech company. Let's go look at that next high flying discretionary company. I get that. But think about what Coach Frank always talks about. He loves this degree of consolidation. It's like the calm before the storm to a certain extent. And whereas you've seen a lot of aggressive price action, especially in the last week, guys, when you're seeing, what's happening in healthcare. Look at that breakout in healthcare. Look at that consolidation in healthcare. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candles. You got close to 2 months of consolidation. Look at that clean trigger. Look at that price appreciation. Healthcare lulled people to sleep, But what did you see coming into it? Horizontal resistance, increasing support, nice cup and handle breakout. Now you're overextended. You could certainly see short-term traders in the market saying, you know what, that trigger above 114 was clean. Let's manage that position, but we're not looking to initiate new positions in healthcare. What areas of those markets are setting up that could see that underneath resistance? Look at industrial here, very similar to healthcare from last week. You got your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days of consolidation. You got a nice tight trigger right underneath $90 there. You're looking on the daily chart, you see that 90. And doesn't everybody in America have to look at this chart and saying, you know what? Maybe we missed out on healthcare, but I am not missing out on a 7-week consolidation breakout in industrials that's going to be that could see a really good movement to the top side if we start to see this theme really develop from a broader market perspective instead of just me on an island for 6 weeks and the market finally catching up to that hypothetical reality starting last week. So you got to like the consolidation, and you got to be looking at industrial saying, if we do get a close above 90, it's got to be go time to a certain extent in the industrial space. Like I talked about in healthcare, you're a little bit overextended. No, you're not looking at new triggers unless you're looking at breakouts in individual stocks. So there could be some stock picking here, but I'm talking broad based from a sector perspective. You drove from 112 to 118 very aggressively, guys. That is a big percentage movement in a sector in a short term. You can expect this momentum to carry. You don't see these types of breakouts and then all of a sudden the trend just reverses very often, but you could see some consolidation here. And while, new trades are being looked at in industrial, new trades are being looked at in communication, new trades are being looked at in technology, you could definitely see this week having healthcare see a little bit of consolidation, seeing same thing in finance, seeing that pop. Really good price movement over the last week, up 4% last week. You got to love what you're seeing in the banks right now. But you also have a lot of banks reporting earnings this week. You got JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citibank, BlackRock. This is, the story of this week is going to be earnings from a market perspective, and it's specifically going to be in the financial space. And so whereas, I love what's happening in the financial space, and I think this is an area of the market that's going to be pretty good for the market in 2021, especially with those stock buybacks coming back strong in the banks. You got to be a little you're overextended technically. You got to love the price movement, but you're overextended coming into a week in front of BlackRock, JP Morgan, Citibank, Wells Fargo, major banks, money center banks, brokerage firms, regional banks, all reporting this week. Now, we get some next week and the week after as well, but this is kind of the starting point for that. So you can definitely see some consolidation as we fight to, maybe form a little bit of a high base here and then a breakout later on this week if those banks earnings go good. But while that is happening, let's take a look at communication. While all that is working itself out, once again, communication here, setting in a prolonged, very neutral consolidation, clean triggers above 67.80, clean support level right there at 65.50. So if we do get a breakout in communications, are there going to be some quick trades here to be had? I think there are. Now, obviously, we don't want to touch anything aggressive this week without confirmation. So again, looking at this as a breakout potential from a sector, let's wait for it to break out. Base materials, again, very similar to finance, very similar to healthcare. Energy, very similar to finance, very similar to healthcare. These sectors that are really theme-based right now in that reflationary trade, the economy reopening trade, the industrial, however you want to categorize it, this is traditional sector rotation is what you're really seeing. And now you're just a little bit overextended. Tight clean trigger above 42 in energy though. Give me another 2 days of consolidation here, and then it is go time in energy on a breakout. I think it's go time on a breakout today, by the way, even with the overextended nature. You got to love the snapback recovery in energy here today, punching into that 42 level breakout.
Yeah,
Discretion,
Matt.
yeah.
I'll finish up discretionary then.
Yeah, and discretion is really the last one because I could care less about, honestly, staples outside of, Albertsons earnings this week, and if it can, recover some of those food-based companies. But real estate and utilities, nothing to see here. Discretionary, once again, very similar to finance, very similar to healthcare, overextended in the short term. I'm looking for this week to see a little catch up in industrials, maybe a little catch up in communication, a little catch up in those areas of the market that were, held back against some of those very hot areas last week. Let's wait for some breakouts in communication. Let's wait for a continuation breakout in technology. Let's wait for a breakout in industrial. And why those very hot areas of the markets kind of cool off a little bit, you might see a little bit of catch up here.